The city's skyline was a jagged silhouette against the fading twilight. Ethan stood at the floor-to-ceiling window, his reflection a ghost over the sprawling urban grid. The scent of leather and aged whiskey clung to the air in the penthouse, a familiar, expensive musk. For 3 years, I'd associated that smell with him, with aspiration, with a desperate, fabricated love. I used to track that scent like a bloodhound. Now it was just a note in a stale room. "You're late." His voice cut through the quiet, not bothering to turn from the view. "The traffic on the bridge was a nightmare," I replied, my voice carefully neutral. I set the small black case on the marble console. Inside was the latest, most expensive suppressant injection money could buy. He'd texted the demand an hour ago, his usual terse command. Finally, he turned. Alexander Reed. Even in the dim light, he carried an effortless, punishing grace. His gaze, the color of a winter lake, swept over me without landing. It was the same look he'd given me for 1,000 days. A look that once made my heart stutter with a hope I'd convinced myself was real. He crossed the room, took the case, and administered the injection with a clinical efficiency. The used needle clicked softly as he dropped it into a titanium bin. He then fixed those cold eyes on me, a familiar, taunting curve on his lips. He remarked that after all this time, I still didn't carry a scent, not even the faintest trace of distressed citrus or vanilla that might betray a flicker of feeling. I let my gaze drop, focusing on the intricate pattern of the Persian rug. My hands, hanging at my sides, curled into tight fists. Every natural-born Omega possessed a signature aroma, a biological calling card, unless their bonded alpha was altered. But I wasn't an Omega. I was a beta, a blank slate. My 3-year performance as a love-struck, scentless Omega was just that, a performance, a means to an end. I had needed his world, his resources, the lifeline his casual disdain threw my way. To confess I was a beta would have shattered the entire fragile arrangement. Alexander despised betas. After a silence that stretched too long, he made a dismissive sound and sank into the low leather sofa. He studied me like an uninteresting specimen. He stated flatly that 3 years of my relentless pursuit was exhausting, even for him. I made myself meet his eyes and nodded. I told him I was committed. The lie tasted like ash. His expression shifted, the mockery dissolving into something more considering. He said he'd developed a sudden craving for a specific small batch bourbon, only available from a distillery an hour and a half outside the city. If I could retrieve a bottle and return within the hour, he might be persuaded to share a glass. A single key, attached to a fob for a German hypercar, sailed through the air. My reflexes, honed from years of watching him, of learning from him, caught it. A surge of genuine, foolish excitement flooded me. He taught me to drive on these very streets, pushing limits. This challenge was his language. This was his ascent. I didn't look back. The garage echoed with the roar of the engine. As I shot through the neon-lit arteries of the city, the memories played in time with the shifting gears. 3 years ago, I'd witnessed him paying off another hanger-on. The casual flick of a wrist, a sum that would have solved all my problems. So I crafted a persona, the devoted, scentless Omega. He played his part, dispensing funds and feint, mocking attention. In return, I gained access to a universe of knowledge, of skill. Somewhere in the process, the fiction began to feel dangerously real. My friends warned me I was aiming for a star that would never fall. But I'd seen cracks in his icy armor. I'd felt the shift. The bourbon was in my hand with minutes to spare. I raced back, my pulse a frantic drum against my ribs. Pushing open the heavy door to his private lounge, I was met with a wall of noise and laughter. The space, empty before, was now crowded. My own name snagged my attention. A voice, slick and sycophantic, was saying that Alexander couldn't possibly be serious about someone like me. My background was mediocre, my looks unremarkable. It was all just a bit of fun, wasn't it? a reward for persistence. Through the gap in the door, I saw Alexander take a slow sip from a crystal tumbler. The chatter died. His voice, cool and clear, cut through the smoke. He asked who there thought a defective Omega, one who couldn't even manage a proper scent, was worthy of his time. He admitted I had a certain quickness, a usefulness for errands and appearances. But I inspired nothing deeper. His words were surgical, precise, and they carved something vital out of me. He kicked the discarded suppressant case in a sudden flash of irritation, sending it skittering. It hit the doorframe near my foot and spun back. No one noticed the sliver of light from the hallway. Someone else chimed in, asking about the bourbon he'd mentioned earlier. Alexander's face darkened. He explained it wasn't for him, but for some rebellious trust fund kid his father was forcing him to placate. If not for family pressure, he wouldn't bother. Laughter rippled through the group. A different voice pointed out that this trust fund kid was supposedly a prime Omega, a perfect genetic match. Alexander told him to shut up, his tone making it clear the topic of the arranged match was a raw nerve. Then, a query about my prolonged absence. Alexander's eyes lifted, scanning. Our gazes met for a fractured second through the crack. I jerked back, sealing the door, shutting out the sound and the sight of him. I stood frozen in the corridor, the bottle heavy in my hand. An engagement. He was promised to someone else. He'd used me to fetch a peace offering for his fiancée. The dull ache in my chest solidified into a cold, hard weight. Flickering lines of text, transparent and spectral, appeared in the air before my eyes. He has no idea what's coming. The irony is going to be brutal. Just wait until the family reunion. Stop chasing him. You're not even in the main love story. The phrases shimmered, imparting a brutal clarity. My long-absent mother had remarried into wealth. Alexander's father was that wealth. She would eventually reclaim me, and Alexander and I would be shoved into the same family portrait. Step-siblings. And after that, he would meet his rightful match, the one from the arranged marriage, and I would become an obstacle, a footnote, a casualty. I turned and left, the bourbon clutched against my chest. Back in my apartment, I set the bottle on the scuffed IKEA coffee table. I wouldn't waste good liquor. I knocked on my roommate's door, calling out softly to see if his streaming session was over. Leo was a streamer, a vibrant Omega with a voice like melted honey who never showed his face online. He'd chosen to live with me, a beta, for the simplicity it offered. The door opened to reveal him in ridiculous dinosaur print pajamas, his hair a riot of curls. He announced he was done being charming for the night and was starving. I told him to wait 20 minutes. I moved to the small kitchen, pulling out ingredients for grilled cheese and tomato soup. Comfort food. When I brought the plates out, he was already at the table. He marveled at the smell, asking how I knew he was craving this. I just poured 2 generous glasses of the expensive bourbon and slid one to him. He took a hearty swallow before I could say a word. He immediately launched into a rant about genetic compatibility databases and archaic family alliances. He was being forced into a marriage with a complete stranger, all because some algorithm spat out a favorable percentage. He called it medieval. His grandfather was the one insisting, and the whole situation was suffocating. Finally, he peered at me, his expressive eyes narrowing. He asked what my cloud was about. I stared into the amber liquid in my glass. Alexander's cold verdict echoed in my skull. I said I'd gotten some sense knocked into me. I mentioned I'd been chasing a fantasy for 3 years, only to find out I was the punchline of a private joke, and that he was promised to someone else. The bourbon was for that someone. Leo's eyes flashed. He slammed a hand on the table, demanding a name. He offered to have words with the guy. A grim smile touched my lips. I told him to forget it. Alexander Reed was in a league where people like us got chewed up and forgotten. Leo drew himself up, indignant. He whispered, with dramatic seriousness, that he was actually from a wealthy family. A very wealthy family. His current situation was the result of his grandfather freezing his assets to force compliance. I just nodded along, humoring him. The rich kid who needed a roommate to cover rent? He insisted it was true, his frustration genuine. He'd run away. He was serious. He asked again for the name. I took a long drink. Alexander Reed. Leo froze. His jaw went slack. He hissed that Alexander Reed was the name of the man his family was trying to force him to marry. The scumbag I'd been pining for was his unwanted fiancée. He grabbed my arm, his earlier bravado replaced by frantic sincerity. He swore he'd never met the man, had no idea about the bourbon, had never asked for any of it. I believed him. I'd lived with Leo for months. His outrage was too real. I told him it didn't matter anymore. But it did to him. He began pacing the small living room, muttering about legal loopholes and disownment. How could we break this? My phone chimed. A university notification about a year-long study abroad program in Edinburgh. Applications were closing. It was an escape hatch perfectly timed. I replied with my acceptance immediately. Leo was still spiraling. I guided him to the couch, pushing a plate of food toward him. We ended up finishing the bourbon, our complaints merging into a shared fury against arrogant alphas and controlling grandfathers. We slumped together on the sofa, a mess of limbs and empty glasses, chanting slogans of rebellion until sleep claimed us. I woke to a skull-splitting headache and a phone buzzing incessantly. Dozens of missed calls and texts from Alexander. Where are you? The hour passed. Answer me. You're wasting your one chance. Fine. Be that way. The last message vibrated with palpable fury. I felt a hollow satisfaction. I blocked the number, ordered breakfast and painkillers, and tossed the phone aside. When the delivery came, I opened the door to find not a courier, but Alexander. He held his phone, the screen showing a red exclamation mark next to my name. The air around him dropped 20 degrees. He stepped inside, his gaze sweeping the room before landing on me. He said he'd looked for me all night. His eyes then snapped to Leo, who just stumbled out of his room, squinting against the light. A violent tension seized Alexander's frame. He demanded to know who Leo was. Leo blinked, his sleep-addled brain processing. He straightened his pajamas and lifted his chin. He told Alexander to back off, announcing he was Leo Callahan, and that he had security on speed dial. Alexander's reaction was instantaneous. He grabbed my wrist, pulling me behind him as if shielding me from Leo. A wave of aggressive alpha energy, meant to intimidate, filled the space. Leo flinched but held his ground. He repeated that I was under his protection. The strange text appeared again in my vision, floating between them. Leo, honey, that's your husband. The meet cute is all wrong. This is getting good. Can the third wheel just leave already? Third wheel. The term was a splash of cold water. I looked at Leo's defiant, beautiful face. The text was right. He was the rightful partner, the protagonist. I pulled my arm from Alexander's grip and took a deliberate step back. I told him my humble apartment wasn't suitable for someone of his standing. He should leave. The muscles in Alexander's jaw worked. He stared at me, a storm of disbelief and raw anger in his eyes. He said my name, the sound low and strained, as if dragged over gravel. He finally turned and left, the door slamming shut with finality. Leo whirled to me, his eyes wide. He stammered a confirmation. That was the Alexander Reed? I nodded, my own eyes drifting to the door. The floating text had faded. My path was clear. The next few weeks were a blur of visas and packing. Alexander didn't appear. Leo said he was fighting the engagement from his end and disappeared back to his family's estate. The night before my flight, a final text from an unknown number lit up my screen. We need to talk. I powered down the phone for good. Edinburgh was a gray, beautiful dream. I learned, I traveled, I rebuilt a self that wasn't defined by longing for a distant star. The phantom text never reappeared. I was off their narrative grid. The call from my mother came as the Scottish winter began to thaw. Her voice was all regret and new resolve. She'd made arrangements. The Reed family would accept me. I was to come home. A familiar, treacherous curiosity about Alexander's reaction flickered. I stamped it down. I booked a flight. The Reed estate wasn't a penthouse. It was an empire carved in stone and set on manicured Long Island grounds. A staff member led me to a library that smelled of old paper and wood polish. I didn't fidget. I'd seen too much now to be intimidated by guilt and grandeur. Footsteps echoed on the parquet floor. I heard Alexander's voice, laced with bored contempt, questioning his stepmother's sudden charity. He wondered aloud if this long-lost sibling was here for a piece of the family pie. His father told him to be quiet. Alexander persisted, asking for a name. He needed to know who he'd be dealing with. My mother said it gently. Lucas. Lucas Moore. I turned. Alexander stopped dead. All color drained from his face, followed by a swift, scorching flush. His arrogant mask shattered, leaving naked shock in its wake. He breathed the word like a curse. Lucas. I offered a polite, distant smile. Alexander. It's been a while. He laughed, a sharp, brittle sound. He looked from me to his stepmother, his expression one of dawning, horrific comprehension. The awkward family chat was a formality. I felt his gaze burning into me the entire time. When I was shown to a guest room, large, impersonal, overlooking the grounds, he was there before the door clicked shut. He pushed inside, closing it and leaning against it. His earlier shock had hardened into something darker, more volatile. He demanded to know if I was surprised. I told him I'd known for over a year. He moved then, fast, caging me against the wall with an arm beside my head. The proximity was a shock to my system, a dormant instinct screaming to life. His familiar scent, now edged with something wild and desperate, wrapped around me. He searched my face, his voice dropping to a rough whisper. He accused me of lying. I kept my voice steady. I asked him what he was doing. His focus dropped to the side of my neck, his intention suddenly, blazingly clear. The desire to mark, to claim, was written in the fevered intensity of his look. I felt an old, dangerous pull, a ghost of the obsession I'd nursed for so long. Then I remembered the bourbon, the laughter, the floating words that spelled my irrelevance. A cold calm settled over me. I let out a soft, pitying laugh. I asked if he was trying to use his pheromones on me now. He leaned closer, his breath hot against my skin. He murmured that he'd been wrong before. He didn't care about sense or designations. He just wanted me. The words were a siren song, a perfect echo of what I'd once dreamed of hearing. I tilted my head, meeting his desperate eyes. I smiled.
I'm sorry, Alexander.
I'm a beta. Your pheromones. They have no effect on me. The world stopped. The fierce energy holding him up evaporated. His body went rigid, then slack with a profound, shuddering defeat. I easily pushed his arm away. I smoothed my shirt, not looking at him. I stated calmly that my initial approach had been a transaction. His wealth was a useful tool. Pretending to be an Omega was exhausting work. Before I could continue, his hand shot out, gripping my chin, forcing my eyes to his. His own were bloodshot, fractured. He uttered my name, the sound broken. You lied to me. I held his gaze, all pretense gone. I'm not a defective Omega. I'm just a beta. The one thing you've always hated. Thank you, though, for all those tests. The spectacle was instructive. The fight left him. He stumbled back, his composure in ruins. He asked, his voice barely audible, if I hated him. I looked away, out the window where the first stars were pricking through the dusk. Does it matter? He stood there for a long moment, a statue of shattered pride. Then, without another word, he turned and left, the door closing softly behind him. I waited until I heard the distant roar of a car engine tearing down the driveway. I walked to the window in time to see taillights vanish into the gloom. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. The script had been flipped. The narrative was mine now. And for the first time, the future was a blank page, not a predetermined plot. The silence in the room was my own.